So, let's talk about business ethics. Have you ever wondered what really makes someone choose the right path, especially when the wrong one seems so much easier or, more profitable? We throw the word ethics around a lot, but what is it that truly shapes our moral compass when it comes to the big decisions? Because when that compass breaks, the consequences can be, well, catastrophic.
And I'm not exaggerating. The stakes are incredibly high. I mean, we've all seen the headlines. Think about the big financial crises. Those weren't just about bad spreadsheets. They were fueled by some seriously irresponsible decisions, a total lack of transparency, and, at the core, huge ethical failures. When ethics go out the window, it's not just a PR mess. It can bring down entire economies. And this gets us right to the heart of the problem, this massive gap between what people say they believe is ethical and what they actually do. It's a disconnect that's been bugging researchers for years, and it's a puzzle we absolutely have to solve for the next generation of leaders. And trust me, this is not a new problem. A quote from the paper we're digging into today just nails it. For decades, experts have been pointing out this very same thing. You have leaders talking a big game about values, but then their actions tell a completely different story. So, what's going on? What are we missing here?
Well, to hunt for some answers, a team of researchers decided to look at a very specific group, the business leaders of tomorrow, specifically students in Saudi Arabia. They wanted to figure out what factors, whether it's their culture, their education, or their experience, might actually predict who's going to make stronger ethical choices.
Okay, so before they could measure anything, they had to define what they were looking for, and they zeroed in on this concept called ethical maturity. Now, this isn't just about memorizing rules. Think of it as a three-part skill. First, you have to be able to tell right from wrong. Second, you build your own personal framework of values. And third, and this is the big one, you actually act on those values. That's what they wanted to measure. Now, the where of this study is super important for understanding the results. The researchers point out that Saudi Arabia is an Islamic country with some very specific cultural traits. For instance, it's a high power distance culture, which basically means it's normal to accept that power isn't distributed equally. It's also collectivist, meaning the group often comes before the individual. This whole cultural backdrop is essential to what they found.
So how in the world do you measure something like ethical maturity? Well, the researchers surveyed undergraduate business students. Yep, the same people who are going to be making huge corporate decisions in just a few years. They looked at everything they could think of: age, gender, work experience, trying to find anything that connected to higher ethical scores.
The group they chose was 164 students at a public university in the city of Medina. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, but it gave them a really focused snapshot of this next generation of leaders. And when you look at who these students are, a pretty clear picture forms. Over 90% of them are under 24 years old. And get this, a massive 83% have absolutely zero management experience. So, for the most part, we're talking about young people whose professional compass is still being set. But here's maybe the most important fact of all. When they asked these future business leaders about any formal ethics education, a staggering 87% said they had never taken an ethics course or had any ethics training. 87%. Remember that number, because it makes the final result even more of a shocker. Right, so after crunching all the numbers and sifting through the data, the researchers found something they did not see coming. In all that noise of different variables, one single thing stood out from everything else. So, what was it? Out of everything they measured, their age, their gender, whether they'd worked before, what was the one thing that actually seemed to predict a student's ethical score?
And the answer is just fascinating. All the things you might think would matter, right? Like getting older, having more work experience, even, and this is the crazy part, even having taken a dedicated ethics class. None of it had a significant impact. The one and only thing that moved the needle was whether or not a student had taken a business law course.
Let me just put that plainly. The study found that students who had some legal training were way more likely to have a higher personal business ethics score. They were simply better at spotting and calling out unethical behavior when they saw it in the survey's examples. So what do we make of this? I mean, this is more than just an interesting little fact. It could have huge implications for how we actually prepare the next generation for the ethical minefields they're going to face out there in the real world.
It suggests a really powerful idea, that maybe a concrete understanding of rules and consequences, the black and white stuff you learn in law, is a more powerful guide for our choices than just abstract chats about being a good person.
Knowing exactly where the legal lines are drawn seems to give people a much stronger foundation for making better ethical calls.
And that leads right into the study's big conclusion, its call to action. The researchers are essentially telling business schools, hey, wake up. They need to see this data, acknowledge that most students are walking in the door with zero ethics training, and then start integrating practical foundational courses like business law to build a real-world commitment to doing business the right way. And that leaves us with one final, really provocative question to chew on. In the messy world of business, where the pressure is always on, could it be that a clear set of rules is a more reliable guide for our moral compass than just having good intentions? It's definitely something worth thinking about.